Guys, I'm Matthew.
I'm Liv.
And welcome to another Series 10 review. Again, we are joined by the great Jacob Martin today as we review Series 10, Episode 8.
Live the Land.
And this is going to be a very interesting review.
Enjoy.
So then, here we are for what is going to be a very interesting review of Episode 8 of Series 10, The Lie of the Land. An episode we didn't all watch until late Saturday night because, of course, we were at Collectomania. So we didn't get back till late. So we all watched it once. I think our tiredness played a slight part.
Yeah.
So we've all, of course, as always, rewatched it today. And I've got set opinions. So who wants to start with The Lie of the Land?
I think maybe you should start, because I saw you put a Facebook post up saying your initial thoughts, and I'm just wondering, because that was quite... You weren't very happy at all with the episode. I was just wondering if maybe since rewatching, would you say that you enjoyed the episode more?
I'd say I enjoyed The Lie of the Land more. For anyone who didn't see my Facebook post on the Who Addicts Facebook page, I did say it was absolutely terrible, which
Brutal.
could maybe have been slightly harsh. What I will say is that I enjoyed the episode more, but I don't think that's because I thought it was better.
No.
I still thought it was a weak story. I think it had good moments.
Very weak story.
Very good moments, actually. But overall, I think the story, I think the ending was very weak, and I think inevitably, I think The Lie of the Land suffered from the build-up that came before it. Because we all said in the preview we could not wrap our heads around how they were going to do it without it either have been a simulation all along or them pressing a big fat reset button. And I think they did press a big fat reset button in a way. So, yeah, credit to Toby Whithouse. He did write some brilliant scenes, some great moments, but they just could not pay this three-parter off properly.
Yeah.
And The Lie of the Land ultimately just couldn't live up to what came before it. What about you two?
Well, the start of it, I loved the start of it, the talking scenes, the
me too.
conversation between Bill and the Doctor. Nardole was funny again, but the part that got me was the fake regen. I hated it.
Yeah, we'll definitely get onto that. Were you like me, living in that the overall story? Good moments, but overall the story was just...
Very weak.
Just weak.
Very
Yeah.
What about you, Jacob?
I'm completely the same. I did think there was lots of individual scenes which I thought were very strong, and I did really enjoy. But when you step back and just look at the episode as a whole, and then also take another step back and look at the whole story, all three parts as a whole, it does kind of leave you a bit disappointed, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I like Liv said, I think it started well. I think it couldn't have started
the pre-title
better.
sequence I thought was really good.
It was. I mean, it set up the world and the episode really well. The idea of a world where everyone's living a lie was really interesting. It reminded me of Last of the Time Lords, actually, with the drums and everything and the Master. But yeah, the little prologue by the Doctor, that little speech he gave was great. I mean, they needed to get across pretty quickly that the world was taken over by the monks and it had to be believable, and I think they did that really well.
I do.
The pre-title sequence was absolutely fantastic, yeah. And I think it continued to be really strong with Bill and Nardole at the start. I really liked how they sort of got a plan together.
Yeah.
To find the monks and to get the Doctor out. But unfortunately, it was up until that point, and that's where the episode... Well, apart from a very, very good scene between the Doctor and Bill, it was what happened after that that was a kick in the nuts for me.
Yeah.
I thought that Bill and Nardole in Bollitters found the Doctor way too quickly for my liking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's what I thought, because I really liked how Bill and Nardole were alone and they were trying to find the Doctor, but at the end of the day, we all know that now actually Nardole must have known all along where the Doctor was, because he was part of this whole setup for Bill, which kind of made
Yeah.
that whole bit of them finding the Doctor and stuff redundant altogether. So
Pointless.
I did like though Bill and Nardol's like chemistry and their kind of friendship in this episode, and I do think this was another really strong episode for Bill.
Yeah, I think this is probably up there with Bill's best episode. Certainly her performance. I mean, I agree. I think they did find the Doctor way too easily. I think the monks have been built up too much.
Oh, far too
to the
much.
point where I think we're expecting too much from them.
Yeah.
I mean, they could get the Doctor's sight back from like halfway across the world or something. They have built a fake world where they have manipulated every single atom of the Earth's existence. So I think the way they've been built up, we kind of expect them to be unstoppable. Well, that's what a villain's meant to be. It's meant, and so far, they've been unstoppable. But the way that they waltzed onto a ship, I know it was all staged and everything, but the fact they got away with that makes the monks seem absolutely stupid. How on earth did they not realise it's on a boat where they've got the Doctor prisoner? They should have eyes and ears everywhere. I mean, they had eyes and ears in all the labs across the entire world.
There was a CCTV camera in the room where the Doctor was. You could see it. So I don't.
Of course.
It does seem there are a bit of a few plot holes in that way, isn't there? In terms of the monks not kind of paying it any attention.
Yeah, they just seemed. It made them look thick.
It did.
What I will say is the scene between the Doctor and Bill, before the regen, which I can't wait to talk about. I've got to say that is my favourite scene between the two.
Yeah.
And Pearl Mackie,
fantastic.
give that girl an Oscar. Give her a BAFTA. Give her Best Actress. Give her an NTA, because she was unreal in that scene.
It was just phenomenal, that scene.
It would have been. It would have been one of my favourite scenes if it wasn't for that regeneration.
Yeah. And then yet again with Capaldi's performance again was just flawless.
Peter and Pearl together in that scene were amazing. And, you know, a lot of people were questioning why Bill would shoot the Doctor, but I kind of get why.
I got why.
It really came across as to how desperate the situation was. Because in a lot of episodes, when something's happened at a worldwide scale, it's hard for it to be believable. I always think of In the Forest of the Night.
Yeah.
Because I just could not get my head around the fact that trees took over the world.
Yeah.
That easily. Like they tried to make it believable by a few silly news bulletins, for God's sake.
Poor Frank.
But this time that I did believe that the world had been.
Oh, I did.
And that people were getting killed and in trouble because Bill went to the lengths to shoot the Doctor, and the way she was getting upset, the way she was crying, the way she couldn't believe what he'd done, I was so invested. And then when she shot him, I couldn't believe it. I remember turning to you and Ben and just saying, this is amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was in awe. And then the regen bursts out. There we all are, sat there thinking, what the hell's going to happen now? And then it fell flat on its arse.
Yeah.
Fake regen.
And even the bit that it gets me, that even like the Doctor says, was that too much? Was the generation a little bit too much? And yes, it was. I just feel like it was completely unnecessary, and
because that regen was in right before Series 10 got aired, all over the place. In the trailers, it was hyped up with pictures, everything, and then all of a sudden it's fake.
Yeah.
Like
I felt insulted.
Yeah, because I knew that it wasn't his actual generation, but even though I knew it wasn't his real one, I feel like there must have been a way to make it a bit more satisfying than just him literally going, "Oh, good girl for killing me."
Yeah.
It just felt. I feel like I don't even know if it would have been. I feel like it'd been Stephen's idea or someone from the BBC thinking, I know what will get people to watch it if we put a regeneration halfway through the series just to get some more views. And that's quite that's quite ironic considering this episode has got the lowest overnight ratings for I think the entire history of Doctor Who.
I heard about that, yeah.
So
I just feel insulted because, like we say, that clip was at the end of the trailer. And in TV and films, at the end of every trailer, they always have a clip or a scene which is meant to be the final knockout blow. It's meant to be that moment which gets you out of your seat and go, oh my god, I can't wait to see this.
Like John Sim,
and that's
for example.
Yeah, like John Sim. And this was the same, seeing him regenerate. It was a moment which got us all talking. I mean, I remember making a video on it, theorising, is it going to lead into his regen? Everybody was going crazy with theories. It literally sent the universe into hysteria. And for it to come down to a joke just shows that the BBC were using it as a marketing ploy and not a plot point. It's almost as if they were sat back going, haha, you thought this was important to the series. Yeah. It wasn't. It was just to get you to watch. Haha, joke's on you. And I just thought, they could have done something with that. The potential could have been there to really make that a story arc to lead into his regen at Christmas, but it was cheap.
It was cheap.
It was cheap, it was nasty, and it was insulting.
Yeah.
And it really damaged that wonderful scene that came before it.
It did.
Because it was such a great emotional scene. And I think I said in the preview, I think I referred back to the scene in The Wedding of River Song, where the Doctor's about to be killed.
Yeah.
And River just stops and goes, hello, sweetie.
It was like
and
that.
It turns into a... Yeah, exactly like that. And that moment is what kills The Wedding of River Song. And it's happened again. Why do they have the tendency to try and fool us and then make something a joke?
I know, like I said in the preview, I just feel like Regeneration isn't something that the writers should be playing with. I mean,
no, I don't.
And people have been saying, oh yeah, but we know that Time Lords can just choose to regenerate when they want to. But I'm like, just because they can, it doesn't mean the writer has to make... Because Stephen Moffat, I mean, Russell T Davies obviously introduced this whole regeneration, but not really, with David Tennant. And then ever since we've had Matt Smith have him done that, and then we've got Peter Capaldi doing this, I'm just hoping that the next Doctor doesn't have this fake regeneration thing as well, because it's really it just kind of lets you down, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, there was a part of me where it did hit home when I saw him regenerating. It did kind of hit me and think, oh my god, he's going soon.
Yeah,
and
we've only got 5 episodes left with him.
Yeah, it worried me when I watched it because I was like, we're going to see this for proper soon. But in the context of how they did it, yeah, the bullets were blanks. Okay, yeah, that's why he's not actually dead, but that's not the point. It's the context and how they have fooled us.
Yeah.
And it really did my head in.
But on the positive side, Bill's reaction to it all being a joke was great, I thought.
Yeah, she was going to beat the shit out of Nardole.
No, that scene was just so funny at that bit. Like, Nardole was literally scared for his life.
Yeah. That was a saving grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of like a good recovery from it. Well, as much as you can recover from that. I thought the whole... it all being like a test was a good idea. I just feel like the regeneration was too much.
Yeah, they just didn't have to have him properly regenerate and them throwing it deliberately into all the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Sat back watching people talk, saying, is he going to regenerate in Series 10? Well, I feel stupid for even considering it now, and that's what they've done. So they all escaped, and the Doctor and Bill and Nardole, well, they left to plan whatever they wanted, and there was no reaction from the monks, was there?
No.
No, like they just drove that massive big ship like back to the docks, and then the Doctor's like stood on the front with this massive big grin doing this really weird evil laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, like, I don't understand how, because the monks would have been on the ship surely, so I don't know how they... It was a bit odd how they just got back and just managed to go into hiding from the monks immediately.
The monks in this episode just were really disappointing, and that they so from extremists and then
To Patiotwa.
yeah, to Patiotwa, as you call it. That the monks in them 2 episodes were fantastic, and then all of a sudden this episode comes along and they fall completely flat.
Yeah,
They were oblivious to everything that was going on.
They weren't working at all.
I mean, they created a fake world they rule this world, and yet they are completely oblivious to the fact that there are people planning against them and that the Doctor has escaped, and there's no reaction from the monks. It's illogical.
It's kind of frustrating, because I feel like
It
when
is.
the monks like were actually present and kind of aware, they're really good. Especially, we'll get to what we've seen later when they're in the pyramid and they're fighting against those soldiers. That was a really like dramatic scene, but it's just disappointing and unfortunate that the monks have seemed to be being kind of written out because it would be too convenient for the monks to know stuff about the Doctor and stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame, really,
It is a
because they were on the
Built
path
up
to
so
being
much.
a really incredible villain.
The were.
We still haven't found out their motives either.
And yet again, what happens? They always fall flat.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
What I've got next is Missy.
oh, that's a whole new kind of
God.
I mean,
voice.
I thought for the scene she was in, I actually enjoyed her.
Yeah,
but-
me too.
Again, there was a lot of talk before this episode, and we went crazy in the preview on how the hell Missy's going to be in this episode. What part she's going to play? Answer: not really much of a part at all.
Nothing.
Yeah,
What? Why was she in this? Yes, the Doctor went to her for help. It made the monks seem like a big deal that he has to go all the way to Missy to get help.
but she didn't
And she
even
says,
help him.
No,
Like
not
the Doctor,
really.
the Doctor kind of figured it out for himself, and Missy just said, "Oh, you're really warm," and then even when Missy said, "Oh, you have to kill the anchor who consented to the monks," and that's not even how it was resolved anyway. So I feel like even though Missy was, her acting was good, her lines were okay, it just feels like she was put in there just because.
Yeah, of the sake of it.
That's exactly what you said while
I
watching
did.
it, Liv. You said that. Well, what you can say what you said. You were just.
I said that series 10 so far, I feel like the way Missy has that has just been placed in these odd random episodes that she's been in is forced for her.
Yeah.
And then behind it, I know there's also no real reason
I mean,
why she's there.
I think I know what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to make us like see that she's transitioning to become nicer, I guess. Like she's trying to become more like the Doctor, I suppose. But I just feel like it's kind of weird having her placed into, like you said, Liv, like these episodes. It just doesn't quite fit.
It doesn't. And the part that annoys me the most about Series 10 is the Vault storyline. It's disappointed me so much.
Even Bill's disappointed.
Yeah, because the first few episodes, the Vault was there, and there was this mystery behind it, who was inside it,
Yeah.
its motives, and then all of a sudden it's wasted again. It's so annoying when this happens.
Yeah.
It's actually happened. It's happened twice in this
Yeah.
episode. Like when the Doctor faked his regeneration, Bill was furious.
Yeah.
Just like the fans. Then when she realised who was in the vault,
He's like, "Is
she
that
was
it? It's
furious.
just a woman."
Yeah.
I mean, I know the companion is meant to be relatable to the viewers, but boy, Bill is very relatable.
Yeah, she is.
Because her reactions are exactly like our reactions,
Yeah.
and it's weird to think that the writers have written her to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, surely, when she sees Missy, she's got to be a little bit shocked. I mean, I know she doesn't know who Missy is, but it's almost like the writers have written Bill to react how they'd
As we
expect
would,
us to
yeah.
react.
Mm.
And why would they expect us to react in that way? They should want us to be like, oh my god, it's Missy.
And
Oh my
surely-
god, the Doctor's regenerated.
Surely, if they think that Bill's going to be disappointed, then they should think, "Oh, maybe the viewers will be disappointed." Like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
doesn't really make much sense.
no.
But the thing with the Vault is that in stuff like this always seems to happen. They always get built up very good. The mystery behind it, we're all second guessing, and then all of a sudden, nothing again from it. It's so frustrating as a fan and a viewer.
It is. I
of the
mean,
show.
Series 9 is the biggest
Prime
example
example.
of build up and no payoff.
Yeah.
And I remember saying after Series 9, I'm not getting excited for anything anymore. And as we all
I
do.
fell for it again.
We're fools, us Doctor Who fans, because we love the show so much. We'll get excited about it no matter what. And again, we have been disappointed
Yeah.
by the Vault and the Regeneration, which are two of the biggest question marks that we've had throughout this series.
Yeah.
Two things that have sent the Whoniverse into craziness, theorising. What could it be? Who could be in there? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it came to nothing.
And the only one we've got now is John Sim, and so I'm just really hoping that this is going to be a bit more rewarding than, like you said, the Vault and Regeneration.
I am praying to myself inside that John Sim is not wasted.
Well,
because if he is, I will be so mad.
well, yeah. I mean, that's all I'm holding on to at the moment is John Sim and the Mondasian Cybermen.
Yes.
But then there's a part of me that's saying, Matthew, don't get excited, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case Sim is only there for a regeneration,
Yeah.
because they like doing regenerations. You know, and just the Mondasian Cybermen might just be another Cyberman in a big army of Cybermen.
God.
When for me, they should be the forefront. Let's just keep crossing our fingers. So, of course, one thing I will point out is the CGI was bad.
Yeah.
Very bad.
This is something that will probably grind Jacob's gears,
Yes.
so I'll let Jacob have this one.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that CGI isn't easy, and I give props to the people who do the CGI because I definitely couldn't do that. But this is a BBC programme, and I feel like the CGI we saw in this episode was something that they could have done in Series 1 of Doctor Who easily. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but the pyramid in the middle of London looked like a cartoon, and the statues that were placed all across the world just didn't look convincing. And another problem I have about the post-production is the editing. I think a lot of people noticed that it wasn't that great. Would you agree?
No. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's been a
Lazy
reoccurring.
editing, I
It's been
found
a
it.
reoccurring thing, hasn't it? This
Yeah.
series. It's like the post production has been a bit of a. I mean, I know it's a nitpick and it's not really that important, but
It wasn't terrible,
guess-
but it was noticeable.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't find editing too much of a bugbear, but CGI I do, because especially when the pyramid took off.
Oh god. I mean,
Yeah.
even if it had the best CGI in the world, a flying pyramid was just never going to look good, would it?
I'd say what it's on par with CGI Diner TARDIS
Oh, no.
Oh,
and
God.
the Cybermen from Death in Heaven,
No.
because they was something
No,
else.
that's so bad.
It's a
So onto
flying
the-
pyramid. God.
Oh my god, that's all I've got in
Pyramid.
my head now is that bloody flying pyramid.
Yeah. So the way that the episode was wrapped up, it did make sense that because Bill was the one who started it, she was the one who has to end it. But what were your thoughts on the monks being defeated by memories or
By Bill's
or
mum going viral
Bill-
or something.
yeah?
Easy and a cop out. I did find it lazy.
I found it cringy.
It was so cringy. Like when you just had all these images of Bill's mum around the inside of the pyramid. I don't know. It just like Liv said. It felt easy, and I agree with you, Matthew. It was a bit cringy, and I feel like it just didn't work really.
No, it didn't work.
Yeah, they were going for a lovely moment, and
It clearly wasn't.
it
Yeah,
just
I get what they were
wasn't.
going for, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't believable.
No, for the monks as well, being defeated that easily. I mean, again,
It's
they
a
waltzed into the
letdown.
pyramid, they waltzed into the room where it's the HQ. That's where this transmitter is, and there were no monks to be seen. I mean, yeah, like you said earlier, Jacob, the scene where they were fighting the monks, that was good.
That was great. I loved that
because
scene.
the monks were actually, going into action.
I think
doing
Thug Monk was
something.
there actually. He was one of the ones who
Thug
was
Monk.
killing them all.
Yeah, Thug Monk was going wild. And I did like how when one of the soldiers, I can't remember what it was, like an inhibitor or something, was shot, that's when he turned on the Doctor. That was a good little scene. But when they got into the transmitter itself, there were no monks to be seen.
No.
And
Also-
they waltzed in. Too easy.
Yeah. Also, Nardol's pinch thing that he did to that one guy. That was probably one of the most redeeming parts of the episode when Nardole did that.
Yeah, Nardole was good.
He
Once
I really
was
like
again
Nardole.
good.
I mean, I don't think I've laughed more than I did this week. He was
No.
it was pretty good. But yeah, was it like a big reset button? Because we were theorizing on how they were going to do it. It wasn't a simulated world. Did it feel like by Bill just going back into a similar position and sort of reversing the whole was it like a big reset button?
It kind of did, right because like, and after that, and here we go again, like in the Monk's takeover was so all forgotten kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that, and yet again, in this three-part, like the first and second episode were in so I also feel like kind of let down from this episode now.
Yeah, like
yeah.
The fact that no one will be able to remember the monks now just makes it all seem like they should have had at least some memory of it. Like, even obviously not like they've been there for the whole of time, but at least remember the 6 months that they've like been there in reality. Because obviously, what about the people who found the pyramid initially with like the three armies? Would they still remember that, or I just feel like forgetting it all is just quite a bad way to wrap it all up.
Yeah, well, we kind of saw it coming because there was so much that needed to be wrapped up in one episode. And as we kind of predicted, they couldn't do it.
No.
Before we go on to our conclusions, I remember us saying right back in our Extremist review, we would be judging Extremist and Pyramid at the End of the World on how it was all wrapped up. So how do you two both now look back on Extremist and the Pyramid at the End of the World after how the Lie of the Land has concluded?
Quite disappointing.
Has it knocked your opinion on that episode? Because these three parts, they take up one whole quarter of Series 10.
Yeah.
That's a huge chunk. So where do you guys stand on them two previous episodes now?
Like I still like them. It's because it's just obviously it's going to be difficult to like them as much knowing that the conclusion is so kind of underwhelming in a way.
Yeah.
What about you, Liv?
Just let down again.
Yeah.
Because like last week's review, I loved.
Yeah, you gave it a 9, didn't you?
A 9, I know,
Yeah.
a 9. I give it. I loved it. And then all of a sudden, this episode came. The episode comes along, and with that payoff, I'm like, oh, why? Why'd you have to do that?
Well, I don't think it'll knock like my score or my ratings for them both, because I think it's only fair we judge them on like being an individual episode as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when obviously going back and rewatching it and seeing the monks and seeing how almighty powerful they were, I will look back and think, well, they weren't that powerful.
No.
Didn't matter in the end because they were defeated. It's one of them things. It's you try and put it to the back of your mind. You try and treat it as an individual story, but obviously you cannot help but think about what actually all came to in the end.
Yeah.
Which was poor.
Do you
Really
two think that part of the issue with the 3-part is that it was written by 3 different people?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, each episode was very different.
Very different.
I mean, there was kind of a fluidity behind it. There was a consistent story there. I wouldn't say unlike other times, you know, where you could clearly see there were different writers writing it. So I wouldn't say it knocked the 3-parter too much. But yeah, if it was the same writer writing all 3, then maybe it could have had a different bill, but we'll never know, unfortunately. So one thing I will quickly point out is I thought the music was great in this.
That's what I was going to comment on as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially the end.
Yeah, Murray Gold was like, because recently Murray Gold has been quite. I know people are saying, oh, they've been reusing music and it's not been as good, but I thought this episode was really great in terms of the soundtrack.
It helped a lot of scenes actually.
It did.
A lot of scenes which, you know, without the music or whatever, you probably thought, oh, for God's sake. Or you'd been a bit,
It really added to the drama.
It did. It make the scenes a lot more dramatic and intense than they perhaps would.
And I'm
have been.
hoping we'll get a Series 10 soundtrack because we still haven't got even the Series 9 soundtrack. So
Yeah.
we'll never
I know,
know.
right? We'll have to see. So, has anyone else got anything worth pointing out before we head to our conclusions?
I think I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'm all done ranting.
Yeah. Well, who wants to go first? Because I'll warn you, my conclusion's quite long.
I don't know. Liv, do you want to go first? Because last time,
I'll go first.
yeah.
I'll go first.
Ladies can go first.
I found this episode a lot better on rewatch than first watch, but overall, the story was was disappointing. The music and the intense talking scenes got me through it, and I love them scene. Bill was fantastic, and yet again, the Doctor was phenomenal, as he always is. But the monks were defeated way too easily, and then judging it as a three-parter, has kind of left the others down that followed it. Missy was okay, but also forced into the episode, and the biggest bugbear for me was the vault storyline. It was terribly wasted. I'm rating it a 6 out of 10.
Not too bad.
What would you give the three-parter as a whole out of 10?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, that is a good question.
On the spot right there.
Because of the ending, I would give it a 7.
Fair enough.
A 7's still fair.
That's fair
I
enough.
find, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay.
Jacob? The big
for
fat
me,
Jacob?
for me, The Lie of the Land was quite a disappointing conclusion to the three-part story. I had quite high hopes, which I kind of regret having, from Extremists in the Pyramid at the End of the World, but unfortunately it didn't really pay off, and I was left quite unsatisfied by the end of the episode. Despite that, I thought Bill was great in this episode, and it gave her time to shine. And Nardole was also a great addition to the story, with a good mix of serious and comedic lines. Like we've said, Missy wasn't particularly needed in this episode, as the Doctor kind of appeared to have solved it by himself. And yeah, the fake regeneration was basically used for trailer bait and didn't add anything to the story whatsoever. There are many scenes that I did actually enjoy, like, separately, but as a whole, it was kind of a letdown. I did actually enjoy the monks when they were kind of there and present and doing something, but also, like we said earlier, they seem to be quite redundant and underused when they probably should have been there at points. And finally, the ending with Bill's mum going viral seemed to be quite forced and very odd to get my head round, and I feel like it was quite a weak way for the monks to be defeated. So for this episode, I'm actually going to give it a 5 out of 10, and overall for the whole three-part, I'm going to give it a 6.
Oh, interesting. Well, for me, The Lie of the Land was an episode which had great moments, like you say, but a really weak story at heart. I thought the Doctor and Bill had some great, incredible scenes together, and their performances were great, but unfortunately they were undermined by a story that simply couldn't live up to everything that went before it. I thought the Doctor's regeneration felt cheap. It was one of the most hyped moments of the entire series, and it came to nothing but a joke. As was Missy's appearance, which I thought was very underwhelming. The way the Doctor and Bill infiltrated the monks I thought was way too easy, considering how powerful they were built up to be, as was the ending. It made sense having Bill be the one to defeat them, but the way it was executed was too cringy and was pretty much pressing a big fat reset button. Despite this, though, I think Bill and the Doctor continue to edge closer to being one of my favourite TARDIS pairings. I think their dynamic puts a big smile on my face and is good enough to make any episode bearable. I think it saved this story from being very mediocre. I'm going to also give it a 5 out of 10, and I'm going to snap with Jacob and say that the overall three-parter gets a 6 as well. So actually, Liv has rated
Once
an
more,
entire
it's
three-parter
more positive than
higher
both of
than
us.
us two.
I can't believe it.
But I think it's fair to say that even though we didn't enjoy this episode as much as we would have liked to, or as much as necessarily other episodes, a 5 for an episode is still it's still not a bad rating, is it?
No.
And we've given quite some positives, and I'm just hoping that people understand that we're not being negative, or we're just passionate about the show, and that this is our opinions. So
we're just disappointed.
We are just disappointed.
I'm not angry. I'm not annoyed as I have been previously. I'm just disappointed because the potential was there.
Yeah, it was there.
And like I say, this this 3 parts took up a massive part of Series 10, which before Extremis was probably on track to being one of the best series of modern Doctor Who. And I feel like this 3-parter, it's not knocked it completely, it's not completely ruined it or anything crazy, but it's just kind of
held it back a bit.
Yeah, a bit of a blemish on what was so far an amazing series. But of course, we've got the Return of the Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
We've also got a returning classic writer, and as we say, John Sim, and the Mondasian Cybermen. So
yeah,
let's hope and pray that this.
Would you like to see the monks again? Do you think if someone else was to write for them?
I tell you what.
Not for now.
After last week, I'd have said yes.
Yeah.
After this week, I'd say no.
As long as they don't write in their flying pyramid in, I think I would like to see. Maybe not Series 11, but I don't know. I think maybe in the future they'd be quite a good villain to have back if they were written a bit more. I don't know. Yeah.
If they could actually think of another way of them wanting to take over the world, if they could think of another motive for them, and to be defeated in a different sort of way. I mean, freaking hell, the monks, they were shown defeating the Daleks and the Cybermen. And
they were defeated by the thought of Bill's mum.
Yeah, well, I'm now scared of Bill's mum. So, that's our review for The Lie of the Land. And, of course, as always, we'll be back for our preview of The Empress of Mars next week. And also, the vlog of Collectomania will also be up, I dare say, late next week, or late this week, because Sunday's class is the start of a week, I think.
It is.
But anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
So then guys, there you have it, our review of The Lie of the Land. Please like this video if you've enjoyed it, and do subscribe to the Who Addicts for previews and reviews of every episode of Series 10. Previous ones you can go and watch, and of course we've got others to come. And do comment in the section below your thoughts on The Lie of the Land and where you'd rate this 3-parter as a whole. And as always, do visit all of our social media to stay updated on everything.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Snapchat.
Everything the Who Addicts. And we'll be back on Wednesday for our preview of the Empress of Mars, which looks to be very interesting. And as I said, the vlog for Collectomania should be up at the end of the week. So a busy week here on the Who Addicts. Thank you for watching as always. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.